I bought my first rental property 6 years ago, and I wanted to give you guys a complete breakdown of everything I wish I knew when I started, mistakes I made, things that I have faced that I didn't expect to face, and this way you guys can learn from what I did and not make these same mistakes yourself. I just got some notes over here. I'm trying to do a live, like unedited video for you guys, just some captions. But just a little background about me. Before I started, I spent about 5 years being a software engineer, trying to buy my first property. And I was making good money, but the money that I was making from software engineering was tied to a job, and I really wanted to do something different than that. I really wanted to start making money without my time, so that's what got me into real estate to begin with. Okay, so that brings me back to when I bought my first property in 2019. Okay, so 2019, first property. And to tell you a little bit about that it was a triplex. I bought it for $195,000. Okay, which in New Jersey, which for most people are going to be like, how the hell did you do that? It was in Ewing. Ewing was where I went to TCNJ, where I went to college, and I was able to find properties in that area that were cheaper than what they normally were. And then today is 2026, so this was in November of 2019, and today as I'm recording this is late January 2026. I have gotten 20 rental units since that time frame, which generate about $20,000 in income per month. Now that fluctuates depending on vacancy and stuff like that, but and this is across 4 different states. And then I also started a flipping business with 2 guys take on real estate. They're other content creators, and they have we've done 4 flips together, and we actually have 4 projects ongoing right now. We've been doing this for 2 years. And so far, our flips probably brought in about $150,000. We're waiting on the final math of what we did so far. I have partners, obviously, so that's split up. So it's not a lot of money, but this was able to be done over a 6-year period, okay? If I had told myself back then that I would not have been able to do this, I would have thought to myself, no way, I'd be so happy to get to 20 units. But now that I've been through it, I'm actually trying to push for more and more and more, and I have friends that have blown me out the water. So my results are not the peak, they are just probably the middle ground of results for real estate investors. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm this perfect real estate investor. But let's go over the first mistake I made, which was expanding too quickly. Now, you're probably like, Antonio, didn't you just say that this time period that you transitioned from was not that quick? Like, actually more people did it quicker? Well, so I bought this first property in 2019. Then literally 3 months later, I was hooked, okay? I wanted to buy another property. I felt like I was playing real life Monopoly, getting checks in, but I had no money. I had spent $30,000 on the down payment for this one, and I put $15K with my brother. My brother and my dad put $15K each. So I had no money left, and I was like, man, I'm gonna wait another 4 years, right? So there was a 4-year period before I had started where I'm like, damn, I'm gonna wait another 4 years before I get my next property. Hell no, I have to figure out how. So I found, I figured out that you can borrow against a house, okay? So my dad owned his house, okay? That at the time was worth $695, I think. Now it's worth like 1.1 because prices have went up like crazy. But we took a loan out for $300,000, and we used that to buy house number 2 and house number 3, okay? So we started expanding. My lovely house drawings. We started expanding. This was all in New Jersey. But then after that, I was like, whoa, we can refinance these and do it again. So I did this again, and then that turned into house number 3 and house number 4 and house number 5. And then we did that again and again and again until we got to, now we have 9 properties that lead up to 20 units, okay? And as we started doing that, I'm just referencing my notes here. As we started doing this, taking this loan on this house was a risky move, And at the time, if you had asked me in 2020 when COVID was hitting, if I was doing the right thing, I would have said, yeah, of course, what could go wrong, right? I was also scared. So it was this kind of like dichotomy. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. This was a risky move to take the money out on the house, but at the time I didn't think it was a risky move. But it actually panned out well, right? So we were able to scale quicker. Now, if I'm going back, the first thing I would have done differently was go slower. Stop listening to people on social media, even if you listen to me, even if you listen to other people, and go slower and do it right, okay? I scaled quicker, and we'll explain into more problems down the line, but I scaled quicker without actually figuring out the right systems, the right processes to get us to the end line. What I would do... So this is actually how I would do it, and I wrote here in my notes was buy property 1, okay, property 1, and then wait 6 months before you do anything. Is cash flow stable? Okay. Is management good? Whether that's you or someone else. Can I take on more work? Now, this advice works very well for the type of person that gets hooked and wants to keep going on something, okay? If you're the type of person that needs a little bit of a push, you might want to flip these questions and be like, why am I not moving quick enough? What excuses am I making? But this is for me, who I was the type of person who needed to go slower. I saw the posts on social media. I was like, I need to make all this money. I need to do it quick. I need to do it now. And that led me to have holes in my business, which I'm going to highlight right now. And I hope this transparency is super valuable to you guys. And I tried to bring this in all of my videos. Okay, so one other note that I had here was that real estate is a 5 to 15 year game. It is not an overnight game, okay? I'm 6 years in. In the last year or two, I've slowed down a lot because I was going too fast in years 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I'm trying to fix the things that I did, which will help me go faster in the future. So now my second mistake here was expanding to multiple markets quicker. So as I highlight this story here, these two were in New Jersey, okay? But then I went on a road trip. If you're familiar with my content, I went on a road trip and I visited, this is when I was moving back to Texas, I visited a bunch of different real estate markets. And along the way, I got excited. I saw one property in Gary, Indiana for $22,000 that came with a lot next to it. And I was like, holy crap, I think I've unlocked the gold mine. I could invest out of state. So what I did was I started making offers. Now I had 3 offers out in 3 different places. One in Memphis, Tennessee, one in Little Rock, Arkansas, and one in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Here's the problem with having too many markets, okay? Is that with each one of these, I need a new property manager. I need a new contractor. And I need a new real estate agent. And that's not it. I also need new inspectors. I need new lenders sometimes, new insurance people sometimes. These things stack up. If you're doing each one of these, it's exponentially worse and harder, okay? So what most people do is they find some properties on market, they get started investing in real estate, and then they go from on market to off market. Let me erase some of this here for you. So most people go from on market to off market. Now the problem with doing that is you can use an app like PropStream to find off market deals, whereas Zillow is more for on market deals. PropStream is great. It has data for every single city around the United States, and it's what I started using the past few years to understand more about the properties that I'm buying and looking into. You could find people that are divorced, that are working on getting foreclosed on, the people that are in pre-foreclosure. And so the reason why I bring this up is that most investors go from here to here in one market, okay? Then they expand to market number 2. After they feel like they've tapped out one market, okay? They might then go here. What I did was I skipped it and I went straight to market number 2, which I thought was a genius idea at the time, because I was like, wait a second, if I can't find enough properties in this area, then I might be able to find properties in other areas. And if I have 5 different cities that I'm investing in, for example, then I get to understand, I can find more deals regularly, because I can look in New Jersey, I can look in Ohio, I can look in Florida, I can look here, and I don't need to do the off-market stuff. It was all about me avoiding the off-market stuff, which is actually one of the best skills real estate investors do. And so now I'm spending more time learning how to do that and trying to get better at it, which is why you see me talking about things like PropStream a lot more. And if you want a link to that, the link's below. Free trial goes to support my page, and it's a great product that I think has a lot of benefit for a lot of people who are starting. And for $100 a month feels like a lot for a lot of people, but for the amount of data you get, it's so worth it, I promise. Okay, so this was really complex. Not only that, it's hard to be an expert in multiple cities, especially ones I haven't been in before. So focus is important. So my second tip to you, based off of my things, is focus on one market. Now, one thing I did right was that I focused on one strategy to start. I focused on rental property investing. Then I started expanding to the BRRRR strategy. So focus on one market. And you want to start on market first, then off market second. Okay, this is kind of the process that most people go through. Some people could start with off market first if you have more time on your hands. It's a great tool for you to use. So you have, those are my first 2 mistakes. This actually led me to come up with a new idea that I haven't seen anyone talk about. So there was something good that came out of this. There are 2 different types of real estate markets. There are more markets that appreciate because they have a lot of people moving there, good jobs, low crime. These are markets like, here, let me erase this for now. The two market types, okay? There's appreciation markets, which means home value goes up over time. This is like Austin, Boise, places in Florida, Tennessee. All these have gone up dramatically, okay? Now, the second type of market is a cash flow market. Okay, these are places like Detroit, places in Ohio, places in Indiana, okay? These are areas where home prices are lower, rent prices are higher, so that ratio is good, but the cash, why did I draw that? The cash that you get from properties here is going to pay your mortgage and everything else. And so when you're starting out, you need to focus on cash flow markets, which might be out of state for you. So you need cash flow to run your business, to make money, so you can use it to buy more assets. But where the wealth is built is in appreciation markets, okay? So like if home value goes up 100K, that's typically more than you'll make on cash flow in a decade, right? So you want to, I came up with this new portfolio allocation, which was about, that's not the right ratio, it's maybe about that. 30% appreciation markets and then 70% cash flow markets. If I had to pick a split of what you should do long term, but for now, start on one market. That was just an extra point I wanted to add it in there because this was a good idea I came up with. Now, the third mistake I made, I hope you guys like this format where I'm just kind of rambling, you know? Got some notes down. I'm sick and tired of doing the scripted stuff because I feel like I come off as a robot. But maybe you guys hear me better here. Okay. Let me title this on the side. Let's see. what you should do. Also, this will be a lot easier for my editor to edit. Okay, so the third mistake was my cash flow. Let me use a different marker before I use all my blue too. The third mistake was my cash flow on paper is not equal to cash flow in real life. Now, all you haters of real estate will probably be like, see, I told you, you aren't calculating everything properly. That's actually not true. So I've had 2 properties where my cash flow in real life is significantly higher than the cash flow that I had on paper. That's huge, right? But I have 2 properties where the cash flow on paper is a little bit is lower than real life, and in fact, maybe we're losing money because of expenses that I couldn't foresee ahead of time, right? And so one thing I want to clarify here is that when you run the numbers ahead of time, okay, you are going to, and this might sound obvious to some people, is that things will change in your property, okay, over time. So things that change are property taxes, okay? Property taxes, they usually just go up, right? Insurance has gone up. Make sure you're using Steadily to find good insurance. That'll help you. Probably have a link below to that. It's really quick. And then you have property managers, okay? This is a big cost that you need to really hone down on. This is one of my next steps, is to hone down on the property manager costs and get those down. Question what they're doing, check profit and loss statements, but you need to make sure that you're going to do this. So that's actually one of my action items for this year, is to look at my profit and loss statements more frequently by property. And you have HOAs that you don't control. What else do you have that you don't control? If you have adjustable rate mortgage, an ARM, which that stands for, that can cause your interest rate to go up or down. So you also have repairs, maintenance. Sometimes those are known as the same thing, but for the sake of this example, these are things that you need to watch out for when you buy a property. So always be conservative with these things if you can, but realize if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. You can try to sell the property. Right now, if you try to sell it, it might hurt worse than if you tried to sell it later, but I'm just telling you that these are mistakes. We're selling one of our properties now because one of the ones that sucked, it was great in 2021 and 2022. Then afterwards, it stopped getting rented, and then we had all these issues, which that leads me to the other one, which is vacancy. These are all the issues that you could have. So my lesson for you then is to be conservative with cash flow, have reserves, like money saved just in case if something goes wrong, get insurance, and audit finances over time. This is why I talk about having a really good financial backing, because if you like you don't have to have like a degree in that, but what I mean is like being able to look at your income and expenses every single month is going to take you so far, because it'll help you question what's going on in your business, just like it would have in your real life. So this will actually lead me into the next problem here, which I mentioned was one of my problems for this year that I'm trying to focus on here in my rental business, because I'm in the process of going slower instead of faster, is not allocating time to review. Okay, what do I mean by this? Profit and losses. Profit and losses are docs that an accountant can generate for you, or you can generate about per property, ideally, to see how much money you're making, how much money you're losing every single month based off of what's coming in and what's out. And when you look at it on a monthly basis, you can get a good idea of what's going on in this property. And you might realize from this that my maintenance is costing too much, or why did property management charge me too much, or we're not collecting rent like I'm expecting to, and I need to stay on top of the property managers, or I need to deal with my tenants a little bit more. These are important, or you might realize that rent is a little bit low. I didn't know this when I started, again, because I went too fast. That's okay. Well, too fast for me, maybe too slow for some other people. Yeah, this is just a proof that that property was not doing well for like a year or two before I really focused on it. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are we not making enough money? Why are we not making the money that we should be making? Okay, so profit and losses are good. Reviewing property vacancy, right? Super important to do this. Reviewing tasks. Get done. Reviewing rent prices. I just went through and I realized that we're probably missing out on about $5,000 to $6,000 in rent every single month, which totals out to like what, $60,000, $70,000 a year on rent that we're missing out on just by getting our rents to market rent. So it might make sense for us to put $10,000 here, $10,000 there into other properties to get the rents up as high as possible. So these are some things that you should be focusing on when you're not allocating time to review. So I'm gonna say add weekly time to review properties. And if you do one, you're going to want to do the profit and loss first, and then you can review these other ones in a more infrequent basis, if you like, maybe once a quarter. Rent prices aren't going to change that much, so this one you could do maybe once a year. And that will really help you get an idea of what's going on. It's important that you spend time reviewing, otherwise you're gonna be like me, which is this is a typical thing I do in my life across all areas, which is I just keep going, adding more things on. I don't spend time to review, cut things out, and get clear. Okay, so this is just one of the mistakes that I made. You might not make this mistake. Now, I wanna lead this to our last point here. Last mistake that I had, which was not using the right software, systems, and tools to make it more passive. Not using the right software, systems, and tools to make it more passive. So social media, again, pitches it as passive income. And I even do the same thing sometimes because right now we're dealing with AI brain rot content and girls shaking their things and guys making jokes all the time. Like, the ability to get someone's attention is hard. And if you don't pitch real estate as something that's passive, it's gonna be even harder to do. So what I'm recommending here is that you use these systems, tools, and softwares to help make real estate more passive than it is. Because the truth is that it is not 100% passive. I call it passive-ish income because it's not tied to your time, okay? So I'm just gonna list out a few tools here on this, on what I can do to help you save like less time per month, because on some months it's literally no time. On other months it's about 10 to 15 hours per month that I spend. And it could be more the more properties you have. It does get exponential. So one thing I mentioned already was PropStream for comps, okay? To find properties nearby that sold, properties nearby that rented. This is a good option for you. You could also use Rentometer for rental comps. Comps are comparable properties. I use Baselane. Baselane, it's an integrated banking platform that I use to have properties by property information and LLC by LLC information. You can also use this to collect rent, apply for loans, get insurance on properties. There's a lot of things you can do within Baselane, get tenant screening, all those things. So that is that for Baselane. And then I use Steadily for insurance. Guys, all these things are meant to reduce your time in the business and use software to help you save time, whether it's analyzing deals, dealing with tenants, checking your accounts. All these things are super important. And then I actually have an entire video breaking down all of the things I use on how to, on the right software systems and tools. I'll put that on screen right now, and I'll see you on the next one.